All right, let's move on to gaming. Shares of Activision Blizzard up 5% this morning. That, however, is it's the opposite story than what we saw with TripAdvisor. This bump this morning is coming off of a 52-week low. Fourth quarter revenue for Activision Blizzard was lower than expected. Their guidance for the first half of 2019 was pretty weak. And on top of all that, they're cutting 8% of their global staff.
Yeah, exactly. It was, hitting a multi-year low going into this report, and things are not worse than the worst expectations in terms of the guidance, which I know there was a Deutsche Bank call that went out a couple weeks ago, a fairly rare sell recommendation by Wall Street research operation. And that basically played out and was closed today, turned around. The recommendation now is that the short-term sell call was closed, the thesis having played out over a mere basically 2-3 weeks since the call was made, and the stock did go down from 47 to 40 over that time. It's back up to 42 today. So the thesis there was that expectations were going to be cut. Guidance was going to be cut for 2019 over where consensus was, and the revenue guidance is about $1 billion shy of where consensus was. So it was possible through research to be on top of the fact that might play out that way, and maybe we've hit a bottom here. I mean, the stock is about where it was 3-4 years ago. So
you look at Activision Blizzard, which for a good stretch of time, a very high operator. They've got some good franchises in their portfolio. But as we say all the time, both about the movie business and about the video game business, this is a hits-driven business. And it seems like, this is one of those things that doesn't really show up on the balance sheet. But you look at some of the media coverage specific to Activision Blizzard, and they've got a creative drain problem on their hands in addition to everything else going on. They've got creative people at their company who are leaving Activision Blizzard and either going to competitors or just going out and starting up their own business. And I think that just on the face of it, it makes you have to be a little bit bearish about their ability to create more hits. That's probably overstating a little bit, but it certainly doesn't make it easier to create more hits.
Right. And in terms of what the focus is going to be, apparently it's going to be on bolstering and supporting the current monster franchises that they have rather than Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and many others that somebody more versed in video games than I am.
And bizarrely, Candy Crush.
Yeah. Some of the things that they've got, the developers are working on, they in their disclosure that they're cutting 8% of the workforce, said that wasn't going to be in the developer area. But they've got stuff, Overwatch and Hearthstone and various other combinations of words which don't mean anything, but sound cool.
You're not a Hearthstone player. There are a bunch of people at this company, big into Hearthstone.
I'm just saying the name doesn't convey anything.
Well, I mean, the stone part probably does.
Okay, so what is the plot of Hearthstone, since you seem to know so much about it?
I don't know.
Don't point to Dan for help.
Of course I'm going to point to our man behind the glass, Dan Boyd, because not only does he know more about any great number of things than I do, he definitely knows more about Hearthstone than I do. Dan?
I'm not criticizing the game. I'm just mentioning that the title doesn't tell you very much.
Well, the title notwithstanding, it's a electronic version of a collectible card game. Are you guys familiar with like Magic the Gathering or something like that?
Sure.
Yeah, so instead of actual physical cards, you are collecting digital cards, and you're playing basically wizard poker with them against other people via the internet.
Wizard poker is a pretty strong name, but Hearthstone is definitely catchier.
The core mechanic of the game is you buy packs of random cards and you open them and hope for good ones. You buy them 5 at a time.
Can I just say that I know there are a lot of other podcasts out there, and therefore there are a lot of other podcast producers out there. I put Dan Boyd up against any producer of any podcast in terms of adding value. Oh, sure, there are a lot of producers who will push the buttons and just make the people on this side of the glass sound good. But I've yet to listen to a podcast and hear a producer really weighing in with tangible, meaningful contributions. So thank you, Dan.
That's because Dan's got his own podcast.
He does have his own podcast.
So he's got those mad skills that are developed by actually doing this better than, I don't know, you and I do it.
Right. Yeah. If this were baseball, we would refer to Dan as a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have more on Activision Blizzard, the stock itself, or should we just move on from here?
I don't know. What would you like to know? I don't have anything to direct people with except to say it is more interesting to look at now. It's been cut in half in the last 3-4 months. So this was an $80-some stock. It's now $40-some stock. There are a lot of other sort of growth companies that have come down like that. A lot of them have bounced back better this year because once things went badly in October, November, December, the selling fed itself as people sold to realized tax losses before the end of the year, and a lot of other things that are in that category bounced back starting in January, more so than Activision Blizzard has. So, it might be more interesting to somebody that's been waiting for an opportunity.